In episode 8, the group that's left, which is Luther, Victor, Sloan, Ben, Five, Allison, Diego, and Lila, they all get together and start discussing exactly what they're going to do, because obviously the last plan didn't work. This leads them to start arguing amongst themselves whose plan is better, why the last plan didn't work out, until finally Five pipes up and says, "We're not meant to save the world. We're just not. We have to face facts." He tells them all how he had a conversation with his 100-year-old self, and his 100-year-old self clearly said, "Do not save the world." So he's ready to just embrace the apocalypse. This takes everybody by surprise because usually Five is the one with the plan, but he just says, "Not this time. If you guys have something on your bucket list, I'd do it fast." And Luther and Sloan certainly do. They tell everybody that they're getting married. And there's no time like the present since the world is quickly ending. While Luther and Sloan are discussing their nuptials, Klaus and Reginald arrive at the hotel. And Klaus is very surprised when the bellhop greets Reginald because they know each other. And that's because Reginald owns the hotel. Years ago, Reginald was searching through, at the time, just a field, when all of a sudden he felt like he had the right spot. He shot up a flare, and the flare revealed a sort of door. He decided to build the Hotel Obsidian right there, at that exact spot. And the door? Well, that's where he built the Buffalo Room. He knew something was on the other side, so he hired a group of mercenaries at the time to go in there and take care of whatever it is they'd find, but nobody returned alive, and Reginald just closed the door, figuring that one day his kids would do it. That is the Oblivion mission. Reginald and Klaus then go find the rest of the group, but they're not really welcome. Nobody really wants to see Reginald, except Ben. And in turn, Reginald can't believe that they're wasting time planning a wedding as the world is about to end. Although if Reginald had any ideas of going to that wedding, Luther squashes that pretty quickly by saying, "Yeah, space is limited and, you're not really invited." But Reginald is acting more like himself, which is something Sloan realizes, so she asks him, "Have you been taking your pills?" And he admits, "No, I haven't. And it's all because of this young man right here." And he points to Klaus. He says something that Klaus has been waiting to hear his entire life. Reginald tells all the kids, "I wish you were more like this man. All of you could learn a thing or two from this impressive young man." While Reginald wants to get working on trying to save the universe, nobody other than Ben really seems interested in doing it. So Klaus ends up escorting Reginald up to the Buffalo Suite, and the two have a conversation about Reginald's bedside manner. It sucks, and Klaus tries to teach him that you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. The conversation then goes towards the wedding, and Reginald doesn't want to go, but Klaus says, "Oh, we're going. I know it seems like they don't want you there, but they just want you to earn being there. Try being a dad, not a boss. And trust me, you showing support for Luther, it's going to go a long way." But Reginald isn't the only one that's not thrilled about this wedding. Diego certainly is not happy about it. He doesn't even want to go. Lila tells him, "You're going. You're my +1. And Diego can't understand why she wants to go because she's with their child. She, of all people, should really want to get the universe saved, but it doesn't seem like she really cares. She tells him, "Odds are we don't even survive this one." But Diego shoots back, "I'm willing to try if it means I get to spend more time with you and the baby." Well, she really appreciates that. She tells him, "You could either spend your night fighting some apocalypse with your brother and your father, or you could spend it with me." He chooses to spend it with her. That night, everybody's enjoying themselves at the bachelor party, but there's one guy that wasn't invited. It's Ben. It's because nobody likes him, and when he sees everybody having a good time, he feels very left out. During a rousing rendition of karaoke, though, Luther goes up to his best man, Victor, and asks a favor. He wants Victor to make amends with Allison. Victor really doesn't seem like he's willing to do that because Allison just killed his friend. But as Luther puts it, if you want to compare body counts, it's not going to end well for you. She's always been good to you. Better than the rest of us. They then get called up to sing the absolute banger, "Time of My Life." While the Umbrella Academy is having fun downstairs, upstairs, Ben goes to vent to Sloan about why she's still going through with this wedding. He starts pushing the narrative that her going through this wedding, it's actually turning her back on the Sparrow Academy. She doesn't really care, though. He starts preaching that Reginald wants them to get back to training, but she doesn't care about that. She knows that his hatred for the wedding has to do with one thing. He wasn't invited to the bachelor party. He doesn't actually care about Faye or Christopher or Marcus or any of them dying. He doesn't care about the world. He cares about getting left out. He tries to act like she's crazy, but she says, "This isn't crazy. We've never been alone. It's always been the 7 of us. But now, it's just you. So congrats, Ben. You're finally number 1. Everybody then gets ready for the wedding. And when Luther comes downstairs, he does so with Victor, and the first person they see is Allison. And Allison and Victor start trading insults, and Luther has to remind them, this is my day. If you two could just get along for a couple hours, I'd really appreciate it. Sloane then comes down, and Klaus marries the two. During the reception, Klaus decides to start trying to go person to person and convince them to go along with Reginald's plan. 5, though, is a hard out. Klaus tries to make his way over to Diego, but Lila stops him, telling him that even though he's unkillable, she'll find a way if he goes over there and says anything about trying to save the world. Klaus heads over to the bride and the groom, but Luther nicely reminds Klaus that it's their wedding and they don't want to think about it. But Klaus's job is done when Reginald surprisingly shows up. Luther actually gets pissed off, and it's Sloane who convinces him to just let the guy stay. Don't let him ruin their day. But truthfully, nobody wants him there. As Reginald grabs a plate and eats by himself, Lila decides that it's time she met the father of the guy she's in love with. She all but forces Diego to introduce the two. And Reginald could not be nicer. They actually get along really well. And as they're heading back to their seat, Reginald tells Diego, "Wow, she's incredible. Well done. It's just unfortunate timing. You would have made a superb father." Somehow, Reginald just knows. Reginald then stands up to make a speech, but two people that aren't listening to it are Victor and Allison. Victor tried to go over and do what his brother wanted him to do, apologize, make amends, but Allison isn't into it. Victor proceeds, though, telling Allison, "You are the most important thing to me in the entire world, and I'm sorry I betrayed your trust. Will you forgive me?" But Allison says no. Allison then goes in on Victor. And afterwards, she just walks off. And it's a shame that they missed Reginald's speech because it was really nice, really heartfelt. It takes all the kids by surprise. After he puts the microphone down, everybody just dances the night away. Eventually, most of them make their way outside. They're all just watching literally the world end. And that's when Klaus shows up with a very drunk Ben, proclaiming this is the new Ben. Because alcohol has a way of people telling the truth, and Ben asks Klaus, "Why don't you guys like me?" And Klaus was honest with him. He said, "Dude, you're an asshole." So, because of Klaus's guidance, Ben is going to try to be a little bit nicer, at least until the world does end. But the night is wrapping up, so is the universe. 5 checks out. He is pretty blitzed. He starts heading back to his room, but he sees something super interesting. It's Reginald talking to somebody in the Buffalo Suite. He can't see exactly who he's talking to, but he sees that they've come to an agreement on something, and then 5 passes out. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.